Well, welcome back, everyone, for week 8 of our summer wellness series. Gosh, it's just flying by. I feel like it just started, and we just keep hearing from all these wonderful practitioners and experts in these areas of wellness. We've gone through GI health and mental health, and now we're kind of breaking it down. You guys are getting to hear from some of my coworkers at Longevity Health Center these last few weeks. And these are some of the most special people because they know so much about what the topics that they're talking about, and not only that, but some of them it's part of their story, their personal health journey. And just like today, Janelle Bertler is with us. She is our lead patient coordinator at Longevity Health Center. She's also a certified naturopath. She's been with me in some series I've done before on trauma. So if you guys participated in that series, you have met Janelle. She is super special, one of the most genuine and kind people. You're going to just love our conversation today. So, Janelle, we just welcome you. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I look
Awesome.
forward to it.
Yes. And as you know, I say this every week, these webinars are for our listeners to just take a nugget or two, find themselves or someone they love in these parameters and say, here's one or two things that resonate with me, and I'm going to take that and move forward differently, find some sustainable transformation for my health. And so I hope today is no different. We're going to be talking about mold and mycotoxins. And I know years ago, I was very familiar with mold, but I was like, what the heck are mycotoxins? So Janelle's going to share lots of stuff with us about this topic today. She's so knowledgeable, has taught me a lot since I've been at Longevity, working in with patients. And so, Janelle, let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, your journey, because you've had some experience with mold and toxicity, and just how it impacted you and your journey to being a holistic health practitioner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am one of the lucky ones. I was raised alternative. So when my health went sideways, I quickly knew conventional had nothing to offer for me. My story, I have learned to retell it from a standpoint of a survivor, as
Mm.
someone who is changing the past into creating the future in a better state. So, um, yes, I ended up moving to Georgia, moving into a very moldy house, and within less than a year, it took me down health wise. I was a very healthy cardio instructor. I was a dental hygienist. I was working full time, commuting through the Bay Area, all the things, right? Parenting, and managing all of it. And then, sure enough, within less than a year of being in that house, I ended up being really non-functional. So, on this side of it, the story I like to tell is I started researching and started putting the dots together and started learning about what mold and mycotoxins could do. And I was able to kind of put a lot of my own dots together and kind of create my own journey out of it. Of course, with some really amazing people alongside me. It does take an entire village, it does take people in your corner, people that have kind of experienced it, have the knowledge to support you through it. So mold, of course, we all kind of know what mold is. It's the fungal components that occur in the environment. They are the decomposers. We can find them in the soils, we can find them in our foods, and we can find them in water damaged buildings. Mycotoxins are really just that. It's the toxins that the mold creates.
Mm.
And there are hundreds of molds and hundreds of mycotoxins. And they also create VOCs, volatile organic compounds. And those can also create a toxin load for our body. So that's the basis. And from kind of healing and getting into a healthy space, I thankfully fell into working at Longevity Health Center and have really just expanded my knowledge and my ability to support the people that come through. Um, and I feel very blessed to kind of lead the path towards health for others. And I also highly correlate the mindset with health and healing. So that will be a piece I thread in this entire talk too.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that has been part of the success of your story is you really had to almost start there to shift your mindset to go, okay, wait, I've got a journey ahead of me. So I've got to get my mind and soul in the proper space to be able to heal my body. And I think for those who are listening, I want to encourage you that and they, my clients know that's kind of how I operate, mind, soul, and spirit and body. And it's all they're all connected. And so when we are on a healing journey physically, we really do have to tune in and pay attention to that emotional spiritual piece to trudge us on to help us persevere. And I know that was a part of your story.
Yeah, if we take it to the chemical factor and to the research that is coming out of meditation and its benefits, there is definitive research to show that if you change the mindset, the chemicals of the body changes. You're physically waking up differently today than you were yesterday. And so that's going to change your health just at that base. And it is very important for the momentum forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go back real quick to your story. I just want to kind of tie this into symptoms because I know people who are listening may be like, "Oh gosh, mold," and there's hundreds of types of mold and mycotoxins. And you said it can come from soil, it can come from our food. Of course, we know it can come from sources where we live, even when we don't notice it. But talk about your symptoms and what was. Tell us what that was like for you and what people might not think of when they think of mold toxicity and symptomology.
Sure. So mold toxins and mold will potentially affect every single organ system. Every member of the family that might be in a moldy environment could show up with a vast array of different symptomatology. So you're looking at everything from the typical kind of allergy, sinus, drippy nose, congestion, lungs, breathing, but it goes into um, the the mind fog, it goes into the neurological, it goes into the hormonal, you can have PCOS symptoms, it goes into the GI. It can really back up the gallbladder, so then the GI system is just um, yeah, it can be vast, broad reaching as it hits every different organ system, and everyone's going to have kind of a different symptomatology. Mine, the severity of the house was such that I had hormonal, I had neurological, I had muscular, I had cardiovascular system involvement. I physically was awake about 4 hours a day, 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening, and that was my existence. So
Mm.
I don't
Wow.
usually go there, but just so you know, there's hope.
Yeah, yes, and that's what I want our listeners to know is that don't write off symptoms that you think maybe. I know we talked in our GI series about you may have skin symptoms and you go, well, that's not my GI. I'm not really having any GI symptoms. Or you may have brain fog and go, well, my brain, I'm just getting older. But don't justify and write off these symptoms because it could very well be something that you're not able to see or even conventional medicine can't see. So always listen to your body, be intuitive about what's going on, what's new, what is going on in your environment. Has something changed? Are you eating something different? I think those are all things that we have to consider. And also, just I can't. You said a couple of things early on. You had people all around you, the right people to support you, and we've got to have that in our health journey. We have to have a good team of resources, people, a practitioner that can advocate for you and that you can advocate for yourself and they listen to you. So when you have these weird symptoms, you can go to this practitioner and go, I know, you know, this may be off or I've had this for a long time, but here's what I'm experiencing. And that practitioner or that team of people is going to help you dig a little deeper and go, okay, well, let's do some, let's kind of get the ball rolling and think deeper here. What's going on? So don't ever write off those symptoms that you think may not be mold related. They could be.
I had skin rashes too.
Yeah, just skin. Yep,
Yep.
exactly, exactly. So talk a little bit about the sources of mold, because we obviously all of us know if we're in a moldy house. I know people who have detoxed from mold, and historically have that as part of their story, and they can go in a building and immediately they're on high alert. They can smell it, they can sense it, their body can intuitively feel it. But other sources that may not be as easy, what talk to us about some of those?
Yeah, so let's start with the outdoor environment. Your molds that are out and about in the world. For the most part, you have to think in terms of the microbiome of the earth, right? It's in concert, it is in perfect balance, it's there for a reason. Yes, there's potential that if you're a gardener and you're out there in some mold compost, then yes, you might get a higher load. Is that going to be the cause of you going down? Usually not. It is about how much of the load the body is taking in. So, could our environment have a toxin load and someone be totally fine? Yes. But it's when the environment has a toxin load and then our body has a toxin load. So, we've been infected in one way or another. And then, the toxin load is so high that the symptoms begin to kind of overburden the toxin bucket. So I'm not usually worried about the environmental toxins outside. That's usually not the problem. It is usually through way of um, the food we eat. When we eat something that can be moldier, those symptoms don't usually put us under where we have chronic health conditions. Those are usually a more immediate potential vomiting, your whole food illness. That's
Right.
usually what would happen if you eat moldy food. The most common things are going to be your nuts. Those are really highly moldy. Coffee also is really highly moldy. So there's a couple sources you could do a quick Google search, really easy to find, of foods that have a higher moldy component, and you can look at those. Are those bothering you? But really, the instigating factor for most people that we see in chronic health conditions is the potential of a water damaged building. That is one of the main reasons why someone could go down with chronic health conditions. As the body burden gets high enough, then the cellular components are poisoned. As they are poisoned, they become not as functional as they used to. And then all of these systems are affected. And again, broad range of symptoms. So it usually is the the water damaged buildings. And then we have two things to work on at that point. We have the building and then we have the body. And both of them need to be done and complete to where we can gain our health and our optimal back.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's go there. Let's talk about that. How do we know what to do? I know we have patients at longevity. They're like, well, what do we do? We can't move right now. You were in a position where you had to move. So let's go building first. What do we do about the building? And then we'll talk about the body.
Sure. So the building that I was in originally, the house that we bought, we did end up remediating it. There were 5 exterior walls. It was extremely comprehensive. We were looking at the HVAC system, which is usually a component in kind of the water damaged building effect. Um, there's a the house being the source is a big potential hurdle for a lot of people. There are easy things that you can do. Is it going to overcome the full load? No, but you can still reduce the ability to the body. Sometimes for people, opening up the windows if you don't live in the humidity of Georgia summer, that way you get fresh air that's more balanced in its cleanliness. For other people, getting a, a HEPA filter where they sleep. I have one in every single room of my place. My kids have one in their room. I have one in my room. And it's just a way to verify that for the 8 hours while you're sleeping, your body truly has healthy air to breathe. We tend to look at, is the toxin load coming from the air? Is it coming from the foods you eat? Is it coming from the water? So trying to minimize all those places. And by getting a HEPA filter, you're making sure that the air is a little bit better. Now, having an HVAC system person come in is great, because if you haven't had the air ducts blown, any place there is dust in the house, there's potential that mold can use that as a food source and grow. Another potential is humidity in the house. If you're over 50% humidity, then again, there's some water that allows for the mold that's sitting on the dust to end up growing and proceeding to create its mold and its toxins. So they're just normal house maintenance, keeping the
Mhm.
humidity low, looking at air quality, sealing any leaks through the systems, um, overall cleanliness, making sure you're vacuuming every week, not just one. You know how when you vacuum, it's like one direction. Make sure you go up and down. Make sure that you go diagonal. Get all the directions of the carpet fiber. Really spend time knowing that the quality of your home environment is important. There are ozone generators that you can use to kind of um, clean the air. Some of the commercial grade ones you can't use while you're in the home. Others of them are so low that you can use them for a minute time to kind of clean the air. There's negative ion generators the um, that can drop the particles to the floor, so then you can go about your regular cleaning. Another place that mold hides in the home environment is any kind of leakage around toilets, bathtubs, those are notorious. Around sinks, that's notorious. Garbage disposals, in the aerators of the faucet. So, again, we're just looking at what are your habits in cleanliness of the house. There's air quality people. We have a referral we can give you if you call longevity, if you need that. We love Breathe Well Air. He's great at kind of looking at air quality from the overall picture. And then if he sees that you might need an HVAC person or a carpet redo, then he can guide you to the direction. Now, of course, if there's active water intrusion, you're looking at stop the water leak. That's a plumber. Then once you get the plumber there and get that cleaned up, then any type of porous material that got wet really needs to be removed and replaced. In the realm of remediation, the general rule of thumb is 2 feet out from the wet area, because when you think about fungal, it has these little finger-like projections, and that can occur not only in our gut to create leaky gut if we have candida, but it can also occur on the in the drywall if the area is wet. So we've got to get far enough out of a border, of a distance, of clean space as we clean up the area.
Wow, that seems, and now we see why mold is not such a little deal, right? It can
Yes.
be a really big deal
Can of
um,
worms.
in the building that you're in. And there are great resources. I know not everyone's from our area, but there are great resources that you could probably call in your area to just, if you just want to, assess, have your home assessed for mold and see if there's anything. Or let's kind of segue into the body, because I want to talk about, well, we kind of, you shared a lot of great ways to test the home and keep our homes clean and, mold sourcing, but also how do we know, how do we test in the body if we have mold?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. If you're going with a functional medicine practitioner, they can do something called an oats test. It is a blood test, and it's looking for um, the the chemical reactions that come off of fungal organisms within the body. There's also a mold mycotoxin test. That's a urine test that is taken. Now, all these tests you have to know, um, you work with a practitioner because they have to be able to determine what it's telling them. With, for example, mycotoxin testing, it is a snapshot in time of your body's ability to release it right now. So, what happens if your body's not able to release the toxin load right now because the ingress is so high that it's just trying to sequester it from your vital organ systems? So, you
Mm,
really need someone on your team who can look at that and who can direct you into making sure that the body's prepared for a test like this. Are we getting a true and accurate view into what the load is? So, yes, oats test, mycotoxin urine test. At Longevity Health Center, we do the bioenergetic test. It is a galvanized response there where we're asking the body questions in regards to, does this frequency balance the body out? Does this frequency, is it needed for kind of a detoxification? And so mold will show up. The mold byproducts, mycotoxins will show up. VOCs can show up. So we really are just, those are the main ways that we can look. Now people will say, yes, I've got yeast infection. I've got, candida. I've got all the signs, whether it be a skin rash that's fungal, whether it be nail um, fungus, all those can be a sign that the body burden of a fungal load is really high. So when we're looking at getting rid of kind of that fungal load in the body, it needs to be a multi-pronged approach. With
mm,
those little finger-like projections, it can create a leaky gut. It can perforate our one cell layer thick. So there's potential immune dysregulation. So there you might need something for that balancing. There's definitely leaky gut problems. So you're going to need something to heal and seal the lining, not to mention some kind of antifungal herbal to bring that back into balance. Now, a lot of people think all guns blaring is better. Remember, we are a microbiome. We need to have proper balance. We just don't want those fungal organisms to be pathogenic and create those finger like projections. It doesn't mean they're not a normal part of our microbiome. They are. They live on us, they live in us, they live in perfect harmony with the bacteria. We want to keep it that way. And so, what we do is restore that balance. So, yes,
mm.
find a practitioner, look at those components. A lot of what we do is also helping to heal symptomatology. If you're dealing with brain fog, we're looking at giving the body nutrients to support the energy so that the brain has energy to function properly. Again, you're looking at cellular dysregulation, you're looking at mitochondria die off potentially. So we've got to get those systems fed, nutrients, lifted, elevated. That way, as your body rests and sleeps every day and reaches for optimal health, as it turns over its cells from the old to the new, it has what it needs to create the new and the better version.
Yeah, that's such a great analogy. And I think, you know, people have heard me say through this whole series, and I tell my patients that our body is like that bucket. And the load, we're not, when we're addressing mold, especially from a holistic standpoint, we're addressing everything at the cellular level. And like you said, in the microbiome, we're not just hard and fast going after it. And every single one of us is bio individual. We have a different body. We need a different approach. We have different toxic loads. And so whether or not mole or candida or whatever the fungal is that's present, we may have other things that look different in each of our testing and that come up, and we've got to
Absolutely.
address each one of those in in a root cause way, not just a quick fix. So a lot of times this can be a longer journey. It's a slow but thorough, deep dive into healing. So can you
Yes.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually one of my favorite pieces to touch on because it does create hope. It does create a vision into expectations, right? In the beginning, when we have a client come in and they're in the toilet, it is not overnight. Remember, we need that cellular changeover to create bigger and better. And so, in the very beginning, if you think about it like a gas tank, and the gas tank only has fumes, it's going to take a lot to get some movement to where you have half of a gas tank of energy built in the body, in the system, because those mitochondria have been poisoned, are needing to be um, pruned and rebuilt. That takes a lot of energy for the body to rebuild new. And so that beginning stages of creating that energy system all over again from the base, it's going to feel kind of slow. But once we get over kind of that halfway mark, it really is kind of like the ball over the hill. It begins to start taking speed, picking up. So, yes, slow and steady. It really does win the race. Some of our highly sensitive clients that come in can only handle one drop or an eighth of a capsule, or you're still creating momentum. You're still putting a hole in the bottom of the bucket to release the load it's carrying. So we have to go at the pace that supports your body so that you can still function and be comfortable in the journey. Um, I missed any part of the question?
Really good. And I see your passion come through right there because this is what
Yeah.
we do for a living. And I think this is a great place to say if you are watching this or you know a friend or a family member who's like, yeah, I think I might need to get tested for mold. Those three tests that you mentioned are great ways to assess. And that's a great starting point just to know, well, is this something I'm dealing with? And chances are it may uncover something that you don't know. You may think it's mold, but it may be something else. And then you're able to discover and move forward, like you said, with that momentum. And so the oats test, the what was the other one? The
Mycotoxin, urine,
mycotoxin, urine test,
yes.
both of those
And
are
the
available. Oh, go
and the
ahead.
bioenergetic evaluation. Yeah.
Energetic. The two urine and the oats test are available through Rupa Health, which I'm able to order those if anyone's interested for that to be your starting point. And I do have practitioners that can help interpret those results and walk us through that. The bioenergetic testing, you all have heard us talk about at Longevity, and it's just a great way to kind of get an overall baseline of where your body is in general, and lots of other things available there at Longevity for testing. So if that's a first step for you, those are three great ways that you could get started and even discovering, well, where am I? Let me check the pulse on my health.
And let me just add one more thing. Usually, mold is not the only thing. Mold is
Mhm.
an immune suppressant. So, as the immune system is suppressed, then other things can come on board and play a role in the chronic health condition. So, it usually is what we call a toxin bucket. It's all the things, it's the perfect storm. But
Mhm.
again, you've got a lot of people that can be in your corner to get you finding those pieces and working you through it.
Yeah, and a lot of knowledge. And Janelle is definitely our source at Longevity. We were like, she's our go-to mold person. We're like, oh, let's go ask Janelle if we have a mold question. Not only has she experienced it, as you all have heard, and overcome it with hope and that's she. I mean, you give such hope to other people, Janelle, just to say, hey, on the other side of this, whether it's mold or something else that's burdening your body, that's why we're doing what we're doing to help you discover what that is, so you can live abundantly. Because what oftentimes, especially as women, we tend to just just suffice where we are and go, this is just how I am. That's how my mom was. I'm just tired all the time. Oh, it's because I don't get enough sleep. And we justify feeling bad all the time. And that's not the way we should live. We shouldn't be bloated and gassy after we eat. We shouldn't be tired or brain foggy all the time. That's not how our body was designed to work. And
Correct.
so I think, Janelle, your passion for this comes through at work and even as we speak to you today. And I just want to encourage each of our listeners to take hold of taking power back of your health and enjoy your life one step, at every step is a step. And I think, Janelle, you said, just take one thing at a time. It does matter. It does create momentum, but we just have to be patient with our bodies. And so, um, let me just say, Janelle, is there anything that you can tell us that you would say as closing thoughts, or anything that you would share with our listeners about this topic or just in general?
Yeah, I think another piece of the puzzle is, lifestyle. Lifestyle makes a difference. Self-care makes a difference. Mindset makes a difference. Community makes a difference.
Mm,
Look into the blue zones and why they live so long, and kind of figure out what pieces of a balanced life are you missing, and add those. Make sure that you're spending time in nature, that you're feeling connected, that you have people on your team. And
mm,
I personally recognize that the who I used to be before I got sick no longer exists. I had to become someone different. And there's
mm,
beauty and power in that. So, what are you being asked to let go? What are you being asked to rise to? What are you being asked to bring in? How are you being asked to show up?
mm.
So, really look at that internal piece so that you can become who you're supposed to be.
That's awesome. That those last four questions are just absolutely wonderful coaching questions. Ask yourself those questions, and it might be a great time to send when I send this episode to connect to our life wheel. And some of you have done it with me as a coach, but it's a great thing to do to see where is my life maybe out of balance. Maybe there's an area I'm not even recognizing that's bringing some of those stress toxins in that I need to be aware of. And those are things we have to consider. So, Janelle, thank you for bringing that to light. And it does matter. It's
No
not just
question.
about our physical well-being. It's all those dots connect, and our soul is a huge part of that. We can create new neural pathways, and just in the way we get up and, like you said, show up every day. So, thank you very much for sharing that. We encourage each of you to do that, just to challenge yourself to just say, how do I want to wake up differently today? And do that. Just take one step to show up differently and to change the trajectory of your health journey. So thank you, Janelle, for joining us today. We are so appreciative of your time and your wisdom. Look forward to having you on again. And you guys come see us at Longevity if you, like you said, if like we said, if you want to be tested bioenergetically, or need any other resources, we have some great therapies there that can help you detox. Just some great practitioners to get to know. So you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you again next week for our next episode. Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you.